Hello, everybody, and welcome into Blue Jays Today, where we always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. Coming to you from the Sports Interaction Studio, I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today, guys, let's talk about the franchise player of the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Well, this entire offseason and spring training, we're looking at all the new faces joining the team. Let's take a moment and look at the guy who leads the team right now, the face of the franchise, Vladdy. He had an amazing postseason, but no one's really talking about what the expectations are for this season. And honestly, Nick, I'm kind of feeling there's some good things about to happen for Vladdy in his first full year under his new contract. Before we get into it, though, let's make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, also hit the hype button if you are able to do so. Now, the reason why I say that is because, look, it's the first year of his full contract. Think about where he came up, right? Came up with Kevin Biggio and Bo Bichette. Those guys are no longer around anymore. This is officially his team. He's the veteran on this team. One of the longest lasting. I think he is the longest lasting player on this team, right? Like, and you kind of saw a bit of that in the postseason last year when he was, hitting home runs and leading the team and being amazing. Now this is the first full season, a clean slate for Vladdy. I'm expecting a bit of a different tone this year for him.
I think it's crazy to say this, and you guys sound off in the comments, but I feel like people are kind of forgetting a little bit about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I think the reason why is because at this point, we've probably falsely believed that we know what it is that he's going to be. And that's because we have had a long tenure of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and we've seen some of the highs, we've seen some of the lows, and I felt like last year was just a great season of like all of it averaging out in a strong, not MVP worthy, but certainly not anything that you don't want to see. They're like just a strong overall season, and that's kind of been the case for him in the last 2 years, right? We've been extremely good with the contact. We've been getting on base rather well. The power's been a little bit down, and I think because of that, we've kind of just forgotten that there's also a ceiling with Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Right.
And I don't know if we can just immediately chalk up and go, oh yeah, he's going to be an 850 OPS guy, because let's not forget, he did have that incredible torrid playoff run where he just completely unlocked a new gear. That was that was better than the 2021 Vladdy. That was actually a completely different version of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I don't think I've ever even seen before. A complete flip of the switch, and now we are destroying all fastballs. We're putting balls in the air, and we're putting them in the air with velo.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's the big thing that we saw that was different from regular season Vladdy and postseason Vladdy. Shout out to Brent right here with this article on MLB.com saying the 5 key numbers that explain Vlad's red hot October. Then he goes through a bunch of them, just like the increased bat speed. Feels like he had a little bit more urgency in his swing, wanted to do a little bit more damage, fewer whiffs. I mean, that goes overall with the entire consistency of this team. But like I mentioned right there, more balls in the air. During the regular season, he had 52.9% of his balls batted in play were in the air, whereas in this article right here was just against the New York Yankees, 70.6% of balls in the air. I don't need to be a mathematician to know that percentage probably stayed up there when you consider he hit 8 home runs in the postseason. Bigger
number equals better. And that's always been the problem, right? With Vladdy is like, well, you look over at his baseball savant page and you're like, well, what the hell? Why are you not hitting 50 home runs? You're the 95th percentile and higher in all of the key categories. And the biggest reason why is that his launch angle typically is lower than where you want it to be. If he could consistently put that ball in the air, then you're going to see months in the regular season where it is 8 home runs, 10 home runs. And those are the type of months that you need to have happen if you do want to be on pace for a 30 or 40 home run season, which ultimately was always, I guess, the selling point to me about Vladdy. When he came up to the show, it's like, oh yeah, he's a great complete hitter, but he's got power. He's got pop. That was always the selling point, right? And you saw that in 2021. We haven't seen it necessarily since then. If he could have a couple months like that postseason stretch where he did unlock that new gear and was still hitting for, I guess, hitting them very hard, but also putting them in the air more consistently, that's when you're going to see the ceiling of Vladdy. And I do think, honestly, like, that is well within the cards for 2026.
Yeah, I would agree. And, speaking of John Schneider right here, I mean, we didn't talk about him actually, but speaking of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., John Schneider came out and talked about just that difference he saw in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. What I'm most curious to see is whether he can take that difference that we saw in the postseason and apply it to this season. Because John Schneider came out with a quote right here. I believe I got a copy and paste. Yeah, Schneider sensed a little bit more of a different edge about Guerrero. Now, Guerrero responded to that comment saying, like, no, like I've been the same guy throughout the regular regular season and whatnot, but he did sense there was a little bit of an edge, a little bit difference when it came to the postseason. I wonder if that was an element of like, okay, it's the postseason, my time's now, time to lock in, or maybe a sense of like, Bo's out, I got to kind of carry this team up. I'm up against the division rivals, the New York Yankees, and that kind of launched him. But I would like to see a little bit of that urgency applied to this year, and hopefully now that the contracts settle, now that this is his team, now they got a taste of the big bright lights in the World Series, we can see a little bit of that in 2026.
There's two ways to paint that comment. One way being the glass half full is Vladdy does not falter when the lights are brightest. That was a whole narrative previously, right? But the Toronto Blue Jays as a whole is when the lights get bright, they suck. And that's because we got knocked in the wild card how many times, right? A lot of times, right? Yeah. And I think he put that narrative to bed. Now, the glass half empty version is, well, he needs all this pressure before he starts really putting up big numbers.
Right.
I don't think that that's the case. And I think that's what he was fighting against when he said, no, I'm still the same guy. Yeah. Granted, I mean, it is the playoffs. You're gonna have a little bit more oomph in your swing when it's the World Series. This is just human nature. I am hoping that that sense of urgency, like you said, and that hunger to get back to that moment is going to trickle into this year. Now, Vladdy being Vladdy, he's not coming out and saying, oh, I'm hungry to win type thing. He's never been that guy. He's coming out and saying that he's happier than he's been in years prior. And I like this a lot because Vladdy's mindset to me, like some other guys, Bo Bichette, for instance, you can never really feel what it is that Bo Bichette was feeling. You never really had any idea. He was full on wall. You didn't know if that guy was happy or sad or baseball depressed machine, or embarrassed. He was like this. But Guerrero, he wears that shit on his sleeve, man. You know when Vladdy is upset. You know when he is excited. You know when he's having fun. He was stealing George Springer's shoes today, so you know he's having fun right now. And apparently, according to him, he is having the most fun, and he's the happiest that he's been in a really long time, and he's feeling good. And for me, that is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Especially with somebody like Vladdy.
You need your clubhouse guy to be extremely happy. Everyone's looking up to him as to set an example and set the mood. I mean, people coming over to Toronto that are new guys are expecting a certain environment. That's what they were kind of sold upon, we gel really well. As a clubhouse leader, you got to set that example. Now, I want to comics. I already know some people in the comments are going to say this. He's probably happier because of the $500 million. Probably. I mean, think about this time last year. We saw a really depressed Vlad. He didn't get the money. It didn't work out. He wanted to be a Blue Jay for life. Inevitably, it did work out come the regular season a few weeks in. But I digress. It's a good sign that your clubhouse leader is doing this. He's hitting balls hard. And I know we don't want to overreact to like spring training videos. He's been hitting the balls hard. He can mass and tweeting it out. That's what he's got to do. He's got to hit the balls hard. He's got to launch it in the air like we're talking about. And he's got to have that drive to be well and set the example as a leader right out of the gate. And that's all really for me he needs to do. If he can do that out of the gate and increase that launch angle, put the balls in the air. I mean, we're talking about Vladdy that could do ridiculous numbers like we saw in the postseason. Maybe not to that extent, of course, but throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I actually made a video on this today, a short video. And I mean, he's not going to have the 1.2 or 1.3 OPS that he had in the playoffs over a full 162. And that's just, I mean, I guess maybe if you're Aaron Judge, you can do that. But anybody else, you just don't do that.
Right.
I think, though, in years prior, this has always been a narrative about Vladdy. He's like, oh, this is the year that he's going to really pop off. And, you know, about half the time that's been true, and about half the time that's not been true. But in years prior, there's been a lot of hopium with that narrative. We say that he's going to do it because we just think he's going to do it, but there's not really anything to back it up. But I look at this season, I look at the fact that he's going to turn 27 in about a month's time, which is kind of the prime. In fact, I think mathematically speaking, that is the prime age for a baseball player. You look at all of the curves and everything, like that's the age where everyone is supposed to be playing their best. They've had enough time in the league to adjust. They're also still at peak physical form. So you got that going for you. You have the beautiful postseason experience that he had where he popped off at a huge level and just completely unlocked a new gear. You got that going for you. You have the element that we did go to the World Series and he's hungry to get back there. You got the new contract. And then on top of all of that, you got the fact that his mindset's looking good. So for me, I know like it's still hopium, right? You're still hoping that it's going to happen, that he is going to put up those 2021 numbers. But I think this year, as opposed to last year, as opposed to years prior, there's just a lot more checks on the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Is he going to have a potential career year resume than in years prior? And there's a lot of things for me that is pointing the arrow up. And I am believing once again, in Vladdy potentially putting up an MVP caliber postseason.
And it's belief based off fact, not hopium, right? That's what you're kind of getting to right there. Is is these just facts? He's done it before. He's done it in the brightest moments. He's done it in the not so bright moment. He's been all over the parking lot and then some. But we know that he's got it in him, and you know that every single year he's going to put up good numbers. That's been an absolute fact. So this year, there's nothing pointing in the wrong direction for me, right? So Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the leader of this Blue Jays team, he's got to set an example. Of course, other guys around him have to do well as well to have this team have success, but he's got to lead the charge. We need our superstar to lead the charge, and we here at Blue Jays Today feel that he might do that.
Well, and I think he will, man. Before we sign off, very quickly, I do want to say, for me to be satisfied, happy with Vlad, I'd still be happy with him to do what he did last year, but ultimately, with all of these things, I'm looking for him to potentially flirt with a 900 OPS, and I would like to see it's so possible, it's so doable. I need to see your home run total start with at least a 3. Because you saw, I mean, the thing is, we saw it in the play against the best pitcher. Not even, that's the best pitchers.
I know, the best pitchers.
Right? the best on the Yankees and the Mariners and the Dodgers, who arguably have thrown some of the 3 best staffs in all of baseball. You were doing it against them. So when you're going up against teams like Oakland, who we start the season with, or Athletics, I guess I should say, or anyone else that doesn't have a pitching staff like that, it theoretically should be easier. So I want to see the bombs come back. Very possible. And I would like to see that OPS flirt with 900. And I think both of those things very realistic.
Increase your fly ball rate by 2 or 3%. You're probably going to hit 7, 8, or 9 more home runs over 162. So Vladdy, you got some work cut out for you, but I believe that you could do it, man. Guys, let us know your thoughts about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the comments down below. Please make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Also, it's $4 a month to become a YouTube member. Shout out, thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always,
go Jays, go!